War for Cybertron 2019, the future of the Generations line. We've talked about this in the past, and all the little tidbits and us taking guesses of what is going to be the future of this line, what we want from it, what we could get from it. We had pieces of it with uh, the voting,
Yeah.
and we had a little bit of an idea of what this might be, but now it looks like through all kinds of little info that's been dropping through different sources that really, they claim that they're reliable sources that have not guessed stuff, that have revealed stuff in the past. So pretty much this reliable source, which is a person named Katz with a Z, claims that they pretty much have whole carte blanches of everything that's going to be going on with the War for Cybertron Generations line in 2019. So we'll just go through it, and then we'll comment about it. So pretty much it's going to be the upcoming Generations line that'll carry the code WFC, War for Cybertron, not related to the video game of the same name almost more than a decade ago. So the different size classes will be, and this is where we start already going, ooh, is so you're going to have leader class, you're going to have Voyager, you're going to have Deluxe, and then you're going to have two other classes here called Micromaster and Battlemaster.
Interesting.
And what's interesting with that is that's something that we were talking about when we were speculating. When we were speculating what we kind of wanted the next Generations line to be. We didn't know it was going to be called War for Cybertron when we were doing our speculation. I remember even the thumbnail of our speculation video was Beast Wars stuff and Micromasters.
Yep.
So it's interesting. Now, they say here the two main side classes will carry Micromasters and Battlemasters. Now, what's interesting with that's kind of very Armada kind of thing, where it sounds like you're going to have Micromasters and Battlemasters as a class in themselves, and then when you have Deluxes, Voyagers, and Leaders, they're going to be bulk figures with a Micromaster companion, much like how Armada had their Minicon partners or their Micron partners. And they said that they're also going to have blind box figures available also. Now, this is me going, well, this is even more Armada in the sense that Armada in Japan, because of that plentiful repaintable Micromaster price point, they had what were called Micron boosters, which were blind boxes of all kinds of different variants of the Microns or the Minicons, where it's
Right.
like, oh, we'll take this character that's Sparkplug, who's the yellow teammate of Optimus Prime, and we'll paint him in red and call him Rod, and we'll paint him in blue and call him Atlas, and put him in blind boxes and stuff. So it's sounding very like we're saying Micromasters here, and I'm imagining in my mind some of the iconic Micromaster characters, but it also sounds like it's a good excuse to bring back some Armada characters
Yeah.
and recreate the same kind of thing here. I
This is
know that
basically the time for Armada, kind of, right?
it is,
In a
and
sense.
the thing is a while back when we had the old Universe 2.0 line, like our classics Universe 2.0, when we had Hotshot was in it, he came with a Jolt, an updated Jolt in a sense. So, it shows that I think that it's, the price point is still able to do something like that, where a Deluxe could still come with an extra figure. I
Yeah.
know that they were doing also kind of something similar a while back. They were doing the Generation 2 packs, where the Legends class figures were coming with little, Micromaster, Minicon scaled figures also. So it sounds like this next line could be very, and when they say here Micromasters and Battlemasters, I think that the Battlemaster thing, like Micromasters could be standalone transforming robots. Battlemasters could be something similar to a Minicon, where it's probably also a small price point, but it also turns into maybe a weapon, and that's the battle part of it. That's
Do
just a
you
guess.
do you think these might be like rebrandings, I guess, a little bit
It
of
could be.
various
It,
things that they already had before?
it could be. I know that around the time when they were doing I think it was like the second Soundwave reissue in America,
Mm.
they started, calling the cassette bots, they were calling them Minicons at one point.
Yeah.
And it was just like, they were just trying to use that lingo and attach it to pre-existing stuff, because it's like, well, what do you call, the cassette bots? We called them that for years, the cassette cons, or whatever you want to call them. So they called them mini cons for Soundwave or something. So
Like do you think it might be like a rebranding of like the Headmasters and then the Pretender shells that they just started coming out with, kind of thing?
Well, I think it's because they're playing with this idea. It's always, Micromasters, Battlemasters, Titan Masters, Headmasters. They want to stick with that master brand.
Right.
If you go with Mini Con, right away you lose that master. You can Mini Masters. You know what I mean? Like, so I think they want to in Mini Masters. Maybe it sounds kind of silly. So they're either like, well, we either stick with Mini Con or we go with something that's a renaming of it. This is again all speculation. This is all just like us trying to really figure out and read into this. But and then again go and it adds more to it when I see like the blind box figure thing, because blind box stuff and blind box things, especially in America, it's always tiny stuff. It's always tiny, low price kind of stuff. It's very rare that it's a big crazy figure that's blind boxed or anything.
Well, yeah, because I mean, you don't want to drop $50 on something you don't know what you're getting.
Oh, totally not. So I could
more
really
willing to be like, a little $1 to $5, whatever.
I could really see them just literally, maybe half of this way. Like, I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if most of this is just straight up a form of, how do I put it, like just a form of Armada resurgence mixed with a little bit of stuff that we don't expect. And what I mean by that is I could see, some of them being Armada throwbacks, while the other half of them could be like, hey, let's do this Pterosaur character, and also Pterosaur will be paired with a Micromaster from Generation 1. And while there is no strong connection between those two characters, it's a way to put a Micromaster out and a Generations-esque, celebrating the 35 years of Transformers kind of era thing. And you take all of that, you mix all of that together, and it gives you a lot of opportunities, because if you do Armada toys and you release those, you're going to 100% expect them to come with their partners. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You're not going to release, Red Alert and not give them Long Arm. You know what I mean? You're not going to do that. So it's just that kind of stuff.
Starscream and not get Swindle.
No, exactly, totally.
How dare you, Seth?
Well, that's just it. So the way I see it is, those ones are tied to specific characters, but then you could go, well, now and that's where I think the Battlemaster part comes in, because again, it's like it's Micromasters / Battlemasters. It's almost like it's one in the same, where it's like it's the same price point, but it has two different names. And I think the Battlemaster part is going to be when they apply it to Armada characters, and the Micromaster part is going to be when they apply it to characters that don't have a connection. Oh, we're going to release a Generations whatever, Generations, I'm just going to let's just turn around and look at the shelving here. A Generations Rapido from the UK line, and then he's going to come with a Micromaster Big Daddy. You know what I mean? Like, there's no connection between those two guys, but that's a way to have the excuse to have those two separate characters without a tie and put them in a packaging. And same thing goes into Voyager and Leader. Another piece of information came after this news dropped. It was like a day later, where then they even had the breakdowns for the cases and stuff. So they said that the Leader class assortment is going to be 3 characters across 2 waves. The Voyager assortment is going to be 6 characters across 4 waves, which means that I think the Leader class is going to linger around a little more. The Micromaster assortment is going to be 11 characters across 4 waves. The Battlemaster assortment is going to be 10 characters across 4 waves. So it sounds, again, like it's more or less going to be the same scale, judging by the same amount of product that's out there. And then the Deluxes is going to be 14 characters across 4 waves. So we're going to have, more or less what it's telling us, is we're going to have 4 waves of this. And then there's the mention of the blind box stuff, which again is called, now we have a name for it, it's going to be called Bots. It's a new trademark. We don't know much about it, but it's going to have a whopping 72 characters across 4 waves. And so, again, that goes back to what I'm saying, where it's like they're probably just going to take all of those molds that are going to be available, because if it's 72 characters across 4 waves, that means each wave is going to have 18 blind boxes.
Right.
which up to this point, when it's come to blind box stuff with Transformers, that's unprecedented. Because every single blind box thing that we've had thus far with Transformers, each wave at most maybe had 12 figures. You know, whether it be the Tiny Titans or the Tiny Turbo Changers or anything like that. It's never been more than like 12. So this is crazy. Like each wave is going to more or less have, if I'm averaging this out, it's going to have 18 figures per wave. And then when you add up all the characters, because you have, let's see, so leader classes are going to have 3, Voyagers are going to have 6, Micromasters are going to be 11, and then Battlemasters are going to be 10. So that makes a total of 30 characters. So that means it makes a total of 30 different, assuming they're all different, 30 different Micromaster molds, because each character is going to be accompanying one. Maybe some of those are going to be 2-packs. I don't know. This is all just crunching numbers here. But so that means 30 different molds, them repainting them 3 times each time to achieve those 72 characters, assuming there's no new molds within that. It's going to be a lot of crazy. But it's going to be, I get a feeling it's going to feel very familiar to the Armada era, not so much from an engineering or a visual or a play standpoint, but from a collectible standpoint. Where if you were someone who collected Armada or the Japanese version of Micron, collecting those Minicons or Micromasters, there was tons of them. There was just tons of them. You know, a lot of times when I talk to people, when they ask me, oh, how many Transformers do you have? And, you know, and I tell them I have like almost 12,000. They're like, oh my God, is that even possible? And I tell them, just look how many Minicons there are. You know, there's like 170 Minicons from both sides of the ocean.
Yeah.
Just Minicons, you know, so like that's you know, how many PVC Transformers there are from the SCF PVC line. There's like I think there's like 84 of those, you know. So it's like there's a lot. You know, how many bot shots are there? You know, there's a like it's crazy. So this is going to be a very collect-a-thon this time around. But it, you know what? As long as they release great toys and it reinvigorates some old classic characters.
Yeah.
Into the modern era, I have no problem with that. And again, Micromasters was a big part of my childhood. Some of the, like, you know, my first Transformer was Blaster, but then the only time I ever got Transformers after that was during that Micromaster boom. I got a whole bunch of 4-packs for my birthday.
Yeah,
and
those are the good stuff.
That's the good stuff.
That's what I remember. You just recently posted up Roadmaster, no?
Yeah,
on
my Twitter.
I had that 4-pack.
Totally unrelated to this news.
It was just reminiscing. That's all.
It was just more. I was reading an old interview by Bob Bugansky, and he was talking about how a whole bunch of the Marvel staffers went to go see a big wrestling match in Madison Square Garden in New York, and it was Big Boss Man versus Hulk Hogan in the steel cage, big thing. It was on TV, and they were so hyped about it. And then Bob was going to be writing one of his last issues for Marvel for the Transformer books, and so he was inspired by how, you know, excited and hyped they were after the night after seeing it, and so he based the whole story around that. And he took the character of Road Handler, who again the Micromasters really didn't have much character written in their bios between them, and so he made this whole story where Road Handler becomes like the Marvel, you know, interplanetary wrestling champion of the world, you know, and just he fought this guy named Jackhammer and stuff, which was like a bootleg, I guess, Bruiser Brody. I don't even know is the best way to put it. It looked a little bit like
the
Bruiser
Brooklyn
Brody
Brawler.
Yeah, it looked like Bruiser Brody without a beard, I guess, was if they were trying to parody anyone. I don't think Bob Bugansky did the penciling for it, so I don't even think he knew who Bruiser Brody was. But it's just
okay.
It's he admitted himself he wasn't wrestling. But anyways, we're getting off topic.
Oh,
but
sorry.
The point is like I posted like Road Handler, which is someone I'd love to see. And even someone commented, I think it was Ultra Primal, one of the guys on the boards and on Twitter, he commented how Road Handler, his overall robot mode looks very like Cheetor, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And I said to him, and I was like, well, if War for Cybertron is like Cybertronian, like let's say they go that route, then you could get Micromaster Road Handler, and then in the Micron boosters or the, you know, Battlemaster Micromaster boosters, these blind packs, you could get a repaint that's a spotted card, you know, from that same mold. You know what I mean? That'll be like a pre-Cheetor, if you will. Like there's so much that could be done with this that would be really fun. And I love stuff like that. And again, I've said it many times, like a lot of times Hasbro really they'll put out a line that'll just exist to kind of data mine some of the names and keep them registered. And this 72 blind pack kind of craziness, that's a good way to keep guys like Braun and everyone nice and secure. You know what I mean? Like they'll just throw every name that they have trademarked right now to those characters. Like I guarantee it. So anyone that's been waiting,
it'd be funny if they started doing like weird variants, like, oh, we're gonna take this character name, but then recolor them to look like the character from Cops or something weird like that.
That would be awesome. That would, and it's not the first time something like that has happened, so it would be great. I know that a lot of times they would just grab stuff. I know like a lot of the movie toys, specifically the Scout class, they would take a lot of molds and go, hey, there was a character in Machine Robo that was a forklift. Why don't we, Spoons? Why don't we paint it in Spoons' colors and stuff like that? So even though Deadlift, the character I'm referring to, his original paint scheme wasn't, the Spoons orange color and stuff. So it's cool stuff like that. I'm really looking forward to this, especially once again, it sounds like the stuff that I'm most excited about for this new generation's trilogy is the cheap price point again. Just like how I was excited about the Pretenders with the decoy armors, and they were the cheapest price point. It's the same thing here. It sounds like the Micromasters and the Battlemasters are going to be a lot of collectible fun to get, and the blind pack stuff. It's all the better. That's stuff that I'll just buy an entire case of that, and then trade and sell and everything, and just to get everything. The only thing I hope there's no chase figure. That'll drive me insane. But
here's all the chase figures.
Yeah, there's always a chase figure. But either way, it's really cool stuff. I'd like to hear people's thoughts on what they think it is and what characters they'd like to see in terms of Micromasters and stuff. Me personally, some of my very first Transformers like Overdrive and Blackjack, some of those Micromasters, I'd love to see them come back again. I know Blackjack got a recent iteration and stuff, but I'd like it in a true Micromaster form. Maybe Swindler, the old DeLorean Transformer.
Oh yeah, that was one of my favorites from that specific line.
Exactly,
that was the same one with
Road Handler. Exactly.
There's that one. There was a blue like Le Mans car looking thing.
Yeah, tailpipe.
Yeah. I think it was like a Ford Probe almost. I think like old Le Mans Ford Probe.
I think it was a Le Mans.
And then
right.
There was the yellow one, with the red. That was a Lamborghini.
I'm just trying to think like some other ones I'd like to see. I'm just looking at the shelving right away. I mean, it's the same thing too. Micromasters were a big deal because as I'm looking at my shelf, I'm noticing all my Micromasters are with my Transformer Victory stuff.
Yeah, I know if I didn't have, what was the Micromaster that came with the play set? It was like a yellow truck, a yellow like front cab truck basically, and it came with a play set that looked like it had a crane on it.
Oh, you're talking about oh my God!
And then like you would transform the playset into be like a satellite dish, I forgot how to put it. It's like a satellite dish, and it would come up and stand upright basically. Like the whole thing would fold out onto itself.
You're referring to Ironworks specifically.
I think so. Yeah.
It is Ironworks because Ironworks, I actually wrote him into one of the comics that I worked on for TFCon. I put him in the background because I love the Ironworks playset. No, a lot of those were great. And again, as I was going to say, like what works well with this is if they do use a lot of Micromasters from that era, it's a good crossover for the Japanese Takara side of things because Micromasters were a big deal during Victory and Zone. So there's a good way to hey, you're gonna get like Holly, which was what do you call it, Stakeout in the American version and everything. Like it's just there's so many great molds that you could use. And oh, by the way, the Lamborghini one, I just remembered now, it's a Freewheeler is his name, and he looked very Hot Rod looking. I remember.
That was my stand-in for a Hot Rod back in the day.
They were all great. And again, pose to you think you should get Minicon and/or Micromaster, because I think it's going to be a mix of both if that does happen. But yeah, definitely chime in on that.